Most of us like to think our minds are entirely our own, that the thoughts we think are ours, that our opinions come from careful, independent choices, that our beliefs are built from our own experiences, no one else's. But what if that's not true? What if some of your deepest beliefs didn't start in your mind at all, but were planted there, piece by piece, by people, by culture, by systems you never even noticed? What if, without realizing it, your thoughts have been shaped by forces you didn't choose and never questioned? And here's the unsettling part. What if it happened so quietly, you never even knew? How do you tell which parts of you are really you, and which are just echoes of someone else's voice? This is Mind in the Mirror, a space to slow down, look deeper, and ask the questions no one else is asking. If you're ready to think differently about the way you think, hit subscribe, tap like, and let's see how clear the reflection can get. Part 1. The Invisible Strings. When we hear the word brainwashing, most of us picture something extreme: a locked room, a flashing light, or a strange voice telling someone what to think. But in reality, it's often much softer and much easier to miss. Real brainwashing can happen slowly, almost invisibly. It's not always one big event. It can be a quiet, steady drip, the same ideas, the same messages, repeated again and again, until they don't even feel like opinions anymore. They just feel like the truth. It might come from the news you watch every morning, from the posts and videos you scroll past every night, from the jokes your friends make, from the family stories you've heard so many times, you could repeat them in your sleep. Little by little, these ideas shape the way you see the world. They smooth out some thoughts and build up others, until you can't quite remember what you would have believed if you'd been left alone. And that's the scariest part. Most of the time, you don't even notice it's happening. Part 2. How the Mind Gets Rewritten. The human brain is built to adapt. It learns by watching, listening, and absorbing what's around it. It likes shortcuts, ways to save energy, and one of the biggest shortcuts is this: if you hear something enough times, your brain starts to treat it as true. Not because you've researched it, not because you've tested it, but simply because it feels familiar. That's why advertisers repeat the same slogans, why political speeches circle back to the same phrases, why certain friend groups tell the same jokes, or share the same outrage over and over. Familiarity feels safe, and when something feels safe, it's easier to accept without thinking too hard about it. This is where the trap is. The more comfortable an idea feels, the less likely we are to question it. We stop asking, is this actually true? And start assuming, this must be true, because it feels right. But feelings aren't proof, and comfort isn't the same as truth. If we never pause to check, we might end up carrying beliefs that were never really ours to begin with. Part 3. The Illusion of Independent Thought. Most of us like to think, I make my own choices, I think for myself. But if you slow down, and trace your opinions back, through the books you've read, the movies and shows you've watched, the posts you've liked, and the conversations you've had, you'll start to notice something. Your thoughts carry the fingerprints of other people's ideas. Some of those ideas are good for you. They push you to grow. They open your mind to new possibilities. But others slip in quietly, not to make you wiser, but to make you easier to guide, easier to sell to, or easier to keep in line. It might be a belief about what success should look like, or which types of people are good, and which are bad, or what is realistic for someone like you. And the tricky part, these ideas feel so natural, so familiar, that you don't even realize they're not originally yours. It feels like they've been there forever, but maybe they were planted. Part 4. Why brainwashing works without force. The most powerful kind of brainwashing doesn't look like a fight. It doesn't push or threaten you. It makes you believe the idea was yours from the start. It rewards you for agreeing, a smile from a friend, likes on your post, a warm sense of belonging. And because we're human, we crave those things. We are wired to seek connection, to feel accepted, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. So when a belief earns us approval and comfort, we hold on to it even tighter. We protect it. We defend it. Sometimes without even asking if it's actually true. That's why entire families, neighborhoods, or even whole communities can share the same harmful ideas for decades or centuries. Not because they're forced to, but because letting go of that belief would mean risking their place in the group. And to the human brain, being left out can feel scarier than being wrong. Part 5. The comfort of agreement. It's not always just manipulation, sometimes it's about survival. When everyone around you believes the same thing, it can feel risky, even dangerous, to disagree. You might lose friends, you might get criticized, you might be labeled as wrong, or even called disloyal. And for most people, those risks feel heavier than keeping quiet. So instead of questioning the idea, you start questioning yourself. You think, maybe I'm the one who doesn't get it. Maybe they're right and I'm overthinking. Each time you stay silent, the belief grows stronger. Not because it's more true, but because silence makes it look like everyone agrees. This is how harmful ideas last for years, even generations. It's not that no one ever doubts them, it's that too few people speak those doubts out loud. And the more we choose silence over truth, the more those beliefs become part of the background, invisible, unquestioned, and almost impossible to notice. Sometimes keeping the peace comes at the cost of keeping ourselves. Part 6. How to tell if you've been brainwashed. The tricky thing about brainwashing is you don't feel it while it's happening. It doesn't feel like someone is forcing you. It feels like you've simply found the truth. That's why it's so hard to spot. But there are little clues you can look for. Ask yourself, do I believe this because I've really studied it? Or just because it's what I've always been told? If I had been born in a completely different country, with different people around me, would I still think the same way? Are there certain questions I avoid, just because they make me feel uncomfortable? When someone disagrees with me, do I honestly listen to them, or do I get defensive right away? If even one of those questions makes you uneasy, that's not a bad sign, it means you're getting closer to seeing the patterns. Sometimes the discomfort is the doorway, it's the first crack in the wall, where light can finally get in. Real freedom of thought starts with noticing that not every thought is truly yours. Part 7. Breaking free. The first step isn't to throw away everything you believe, that's not the point. The point is to pause before you rush to defend those beliefs. Sit with them for a moment. Turn them over in your mind, ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Can I trace it back to the first time I heard it? Who said it to me? Why did they say it? What were they hoping I would believe? Sometimes you'll realize the belief still makes sense, it still feels true, and now it's yours, not because you were told to think it, but because you've chosen it. Other times you'll notice it doesn't really serve you anymore. It might even be holding you back, and in that moment, you get to decide to let it go. That's the thing about brainwashing. It only works when you don't look too closely at it. It survives in the shadows, where no one asks questions, but the second you start to examine it, even just a little, its grip on you begins to loosen. That's how freedom of thought begins. Part 8. The lifelong work. You can't remove every influence from your life, and you can't hide in a bubble where no one's ideas ever touch you, but you can become the kind of person who notices when a new idea starts to take root. Instead of asking right away, do I agree? Try asking, where did this come from? Who benefits if I believe this? What might I not be seeing? This isn't about living in fear, or distrusting every word you hear. It's about staying awake. It's about paying attention. Because the more aware you are, the harder it is for someone to quietly step into your mind and rearrange the furniture without asking. Your thoughts are your space, guard them like something worth protecting, because they are. Part 9. The paradox of influence. Here's the truth. None of us think completely on our own. We're all shaped by each other, by the books we read, the people we care about, and the culture we live in. Influence itself isn't bad, it's a natural part of being human. The danger starts when we stop noticing it. When we let ideas pass through without question, until we can't tell the difference between our own voice and the voices that were placed there. Awareness is the key. Without it, someone else might end up thinking for you. Closing reflection. Before you go to sleep tonight, stand in front of the mirror, look into your own eyes, and ask how much of me is truly me. You might not have the answer right away. And that's okay. The point isn't to be untouched by influence. That's impossible. The point is to stay awake, to notice what's shaping you, to protect your mind like it's something rare and precious, because it is. The most dangerous kind of brainwashing isn't the kind you can see coming. It's the kind you never realize has happened. So stay curious, stay questioning, and never stop looking deeper. If this made you stop and think, subscribe to Mind in the Mirror, and hit the like button. Share it with someone who loves deep, honest conversations. because the more of us who wake up, the harder it is for anyone to quietly control what we believe.